Welcome back, people, wherever you're listening. It doesn't matter. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Ryan, and I'm here with Cole. Cole, what is up, my friend?
What's happening? Good afternoon, Ryan.
Good afternoon. Been a good day, good Monday?
Kind of a groggy day out. A little bit wet, rainy,
Uh,
froggy out, but you know what? We've made the best of it, haven't we, Ryan?
we have. It's disgusting. That old, good old southern weather. Just,
You know what they say, April showers, man.
it never stops. I know. It's been nothing but rain. But enough about the weather, okay? The small talk over.
Film
We,
talk.
we've had a busy week in film. A busy day,
Busy,
actually.
busy.
A lot has happened today as we record on the 18th of February, or April, sorry. So
Let's
with
hear it.
that, our first big news of today, Thor: Love and Thunder dropped its first trailer.
Right, right. I watched it this morning as soon as I got up.
Yeah, see, I had seen it a little bit a little bit in the later afternoon, so it had already kind of run its course through social media. People have been throwing their opinions, but as someone who saw it instantly as it came out, I want to know what you thought.
I was excited to see the Guardians. Excited to see Peter Quill. Seems like there's going to be a lot of good dialogue from him. One of my favorite Marvel characters. I was excited to see Korg in his nice new armor, and then of course we have Natalie Portman. Lady Thor is in the MCU now, and we're gonna be I'm gonna be excited to see what they do with that. I hope it's as I hope Taika Waititi pulls through and makes the most maximalist, most in your face, flashy Thor movie that he can.
See, that's the thing is that like ever since Takai, because it feels like he just kind of appeared out of nowhere. At least for me, right? Like he not that he was never a big name because he was. He was always someone that people kind of knew. But after Ragnarok, it felt like his everything he had done was maximized, and everything he's done since has been like in the forefront, right? Like he appeared
Right.
in The Mandalorian. He was literally Hitler in Jojo Rabbit, and both of those things, like when they happened, I felt like everyone was talking about it, right?
Yeah,
So now that he's got his not only his own character Korg, who I absolutely love, but I'm excited to see what his second outing looks like because we can single-handedly thank him for Chris Hemsworth still being in the role in general. You know what I mean?
right. Because Thor, without Ragnarok, kind of bringing it back home, like Thor might have just died as a character.
Oh, it was so boring.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Dark World, like that's you have to trudge through the film. It's not fun. It's not a good movie.
No, sadly, I mean it had. I described my love for Doctor Who last week. In Dark World, the villain was played by none other than Christopher Eccleston, who was the Ninth Doctor. So it's kind of sad to see that movie be as bad as it is. But back to Thor. I trust Takai. You know what I mean? Like it's just
I do
something about the way he
truly.
writes. His sense of humor is perfect, and I feel like he has taken this character in the perfect direction.
He his style reminds me a lot of James Gunn.
Oh
It's like
yeah,
a New Zealander James Gunn. They kind of go hand in hand in my mind.
right.
And I'm glad that they've there are two directors out that that they make these fun, flashy sci-fi and superhero films, and I'm ready to see more.
Oh, I completely agree. And it's as you said. I wonder what kind of role Takai will play in the greater Marvel universe. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
once Thor's story ends, because it feels like it's starting to wrap up. Like maybe there's another movie on the way, but it just to me it feels like Hemsworth's been in the role for so long. There's got to be an end in sight at some point, right?
Of course.
So what happens when Thor's story ends? Because you can't, in my mind, if you're Kevin Feige, you can't just let someone like Takai leave.
Well, I'm sure that someone will take up the mantle as Thor. They'll pass on the totem to someone else, someone younger. And it'll all work out. There'll be a next generation, as there already are with a lot of the Marvel characters, the household names,
So
starting to pass it on.
you think they'll
And
just recast the character?
maybe not recast someone as being Thor, son of Odin, but they'll keep that part of the franchise going.
I
Maybe
feel you.
without Hemsworth, or with Hemsworth playing a role. I feel like a lot of these characters are going to be like Nick Fury's in the future, where yeah, they're in the movies, they make a cameo, they talk, but they're not really going to be the face of the action. That's going to be for the younger people.
Right. But what do you do with Takai? Like, where do you throw him? What other projects do you think that you could give him that he
Ooh,
could, like, like, what do you give him to keep him in the
oh,
MCU?
I and I feel like he'd be great with the Moon Knight character. He'd be great with the Fantastic Four. Um,
The
a lot of the
Fantastic Four
Ekman,
was one that I agree with.
yeah,
I would be
maybe not
really
Moon Knight.
maybe Moon Knight, depending on where that goes in terms of cinema and not just show. A really interesting, like, I think, like, matchup that I would see. What would a Takai Waititi led X-Men look like?
What would it look like?
See, like,
Um,
because DC and Warner Brothers, they completely gave the reins of the Suicide Squad to James Gunn,
right.
and they've let him do whatever he wants. And I don't think it's that far of an offshoot to see Disney and Marvel do the same with him, with Takai, with the X-Men.
I think that the X-Men might be too big of a franchise, too big of a possible franchise to give all of the creative reins to Watiti though.
I'm not
Like
saying all of it, but maybe, like, you know how Kevin Feige's like a creative lead, but like he works with other creators and they kind of create their own thing underneath his kind of point.
oh yeah, I
That's
see
kind
that.
of the thought that I'm thinking.
And I'm just excited. Whoever they pick is going to do a great job with X-Men. The series needs to be revitalized, and I think they'll do a good, tasteful job with it. I don't think they'll mess it up. Um, as we all know, the X-Men movies, they're beloved. People really like them, and they don't necessarily need a kick in the pants, but to integrate themselves into the way that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is now, they might have to take on a bit more of a lighthearted role, which Watiti would be the perfect fit for.
Right. I don't know how much I like the idea. I know it's going to happen just to fit in the overall theme of the MCU. They're going to have to be more lighthearted, but I feel like that's what makes the X-Men separate from other heroes is that they're like the most DC characters that Marvel has.
Right? Yeah, they're the darkest ones.
Yeah.
Not some of the darkest ones.
Yeah, like, so the thought of them being more lighthearted, I don't it's far from ruins it for me. I don't want to say that, but I worry that they could take away from the characters. Like, imagine a Wolverine that's goofy.
Most audience goers would be turned off
That's what
for
I'm
sure.
saying. Like, no.
Right? No, and think about going from like Logan
Oh
to
yeah.
a goofy, quip-filled MCU version of Wolverine. Like that would just leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth, man.
Right. So I think they have to see that, right? Like, there's no way that that's what they go to.
Yeah, they've got some smart people up there at Disney though, so they'll do the right thing with it. I think they're kind of playing with fire with X-Men because think about how much the X-Men mean to so many people.
Hmm. In the mouse we
Um,
trust, I guess.
I suppose we've trusted him for 100 years at this point. So
Yeah. All right. So our next piece of news, I've listed our news here as just Marvel and DC off the bat, so we can get it out of the way and move on to the rest of the news following that. Is that fair?
that's cool. Yeah.
All right, cool. So our next piece of news: Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange 2 officially rated PG-13 due to quote intense sequence of violence, action, frightening images, and some language. What are your takes?
And
What are your
I'm glad.
thoughts?
I'm so glad. I'm so glad because I'm an adult. I'm a grown man, yet I've been stricken with an affliction. I like the Marvel movies, right? So I need something that appeals to both sides of those things. I love the movies, but I love that gritty action. I love, you know, films that that are catered to more my age group and my interests. So a PG-13 Doctor Strange movie, I've got a lot of faith in it. The trailers look fantastic. They look phenomenal. They're very crisp. Sam Raimi is a fantastic director. He's put out some of the best work in both horror and superhero films, and I think it's going to be. They've been touting this movie for a long time as the most out there, the craziest Marvel project to date, and I think that this rating only solidifies that.
And, I completely agree. And you touched on it a little bit, and I don't remember if we discussed this last week or if it was just us talking about it. But for those that don't know, Sam Raimi is one of the best in terms of like what would you call it? Like, I know horror, but it's not like his movies, if you don't really know him, stand out. They're not like completely blockbuster every time he releases. They're definitely, I don't want to say call them B movies, but you know what I mean? Like, they're definitely
Campy movies. They're campy.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, but if you've seen any of them and you see his body of work when he gets creative freedom, compare that with how he was able to do with the first two Spider-Man. And don't even get me started on Spider-Man 3, because that one, that's not his fault. That's a Sony fault. But regardless, you allow him some breathing room. I wouldn't say, like, I feel like if it was Sam Raimi completely, it would probably be rated R. So you rein him in a little bit, but give him enough creative freedom to let it be rated PG-13, combine his horror aspects with his superhero aspects. Everything you said and then some, I just think that this is going to be probably one of my favorite, if not one of the best MCU movies that they've come out with yet.
Sure, it almost seems like this is the Doctor Strange No Way Home.
Yeah.
When you look at the trailer, I mean, we have variants, we have Wanda Maximoff, we have America Chavez, we have so many characters, old and new. There are going to be cameo after cameo after cameo in this film,
Right.
and most of it hasn't leaked. People, it's all up to speculation as to what is going to be sprung forth from the multiverse. People talk Fantastic Four elements going to be in there, X-Men elements going to be there, some Sony stuff, Deadpool. We just don't know at this point.
Right. And I had heard somewhere that they had around a 100 Easter eggs, like cameos, planned for this movie, like legit triple digits, 100.
Really?
I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know whether to be excited for that, because my main worry would be that they've overdone it.
Uh,
But
I don't think they've overdone it.
I
don't think
trust
they.
I
I don't
trust
think
Marvel and Sam
yeah,
Raimi, as what we've
that's
said
how I
earlier.
see it. I've seen some of the early leaks of Professor X in the film,
Yes.
and they look goofy, sure, but these are early like computer renderings of what they'd like the shot to look like.
Right.
So obviously, not what it would actually, or how it would actually look on the screen. But I'm excited to see Patrick Stewart, man.
Oh yeah, we're far removed from that finished product, and I think that's the most exciting aspect for me, at least, is just seeing my childhood one final time
Right.
before it's completely revamped and renewed.
That's how I felt with Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
we'll get to see it with Doctor Strange. And I've always said Doctor Strange, the first one, that's my favorite MCU film.
It's so good. It's so underrated.
It's fantastic. Yeah, people don't talk about it enough. And of course, it's just sort of an origin story, but it's so well done.
Agreed. I'm a big Doctor Strange guy.
As am I. Agreed.
Moving along to our next tidbit of news, The Batman releases on HBO Max today, April the 18th of 2022. Do you know the total number that it amassed in overall gross worldwide?
No idea.
Brace yourself, because this number is going to spawn 4 to 5 sequels if they allow it. $751,135,121.
It's a big chunk of change, man.
That's
and
a lot of
rightfully
money.
So. Oh well, you know what? That's how much I'd expect. the movie to make. It's a lot of money, but it was a hell of a movie.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, I saw it in the theater a couple weeks ago, and I went in and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a great Batman movie. I walked out and I said that was a phenomenal Batman detective movie.
I feel like it was the most, if the Batman was real, if somehow that kooky comic book story was in real life, Matt Reeves' version of it was what I would imagine it to look like.
Yeah, it really wasn't comic bookish almost. Maybe the costumes were and some of the characters were, but it was kind of realistic like that. I agree. Like if somehow there was a man that had all this money and was put into these, circumstances and he decided to become the the caped crusader, then that's how it would be.
Completely agree. And what's really cool about it too is that like, and we'll talk more about this next month because we will. I guess we can go ahead and announce what the next month. This month was Robert Eggers. Next month we're moving on to David Fincher. This Batman movie
And
has been more than confirmed to have been inspired a lot by Seven, the David Fincher
right,
1990s
right.
blockbuster with Brad Pitt.
Even Zodiac.
Yes, like and so it's just we'll go over this in detail when come a few weeks. Okay, we're getting close, but
The weekend.
if you've seen, I know you have, but to the audience at home, if you've seen the Batman and you've not seen Seven, go back and watch it because you like from the lighting to the way that characters interact with each other to the villain in each story, you can it's almost mirror images of each other. Just one has a cape and the other doesn't.
Right. Yeah. I was just thinking in terms of like cinematic style that it's like Seven. Then you bring in the idea that the villain in both movies kind of mirror one another. You were you hit the nail on the head there. I never thought of that, but they're very similar.
Oh, I love it. It's
The
so
same
like
villain.
yeah, essentially. So yeah, that's the Batman staying in DC. DC itself is under new ownership, merges with Warner Brothers Discovery, and these new owners are leaning towards a complete overhaul of everything extended universe with DC films, games, and shows with this realignment of having these three major outlets to be more aligned with each other. So I don't know what that means. If that means like they want one continuous story, so does that mean a Grant Gustin, CW Flash is now the DCEU Flash? Or does that mean Robert Pattinson's Batman is now the DCEU Batman? We don't know. But along with that, before I stop yapping about what was said and allow thought to be had, these new owners also feel that the character specifically in Superman was criminally underused and needs to be, quote, revitalized. And they're looking for a Kevin Feige-esque leader who we've talked about so much today. I'm done now. You can.
So what does this mean? I'll ask you, what do you think this means for the future of the franchise?
I mean, I honestly, I can see a soft reboot among all platforms. I feel like they're gonna finish out because the CW verse is also under sale, and I mean this might have also closed that, but I feel
What's it
like
what's it for sale for $5?
yeah, I have no clue, but I mean I wouldn't be shocked if that was the total, but like I feel like what's gonna end up happening is this new group that is now in control, they will allow this CW verse to end. Like they will let these shows run out because HBO Max is coming out with their own shows and Batgirl and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's probably going to take the creative lead. I feel like they're going to allow like it's weird because who knows what's going to end up happening with like Matt Reeves, right? Like you can't not make more
Right.
movies in that universe, but can you afford if you're wanting to create all these aligned extended universes? Do you want to keep Matt Reeves separate from everything you're trying to do? But yeah, I feel like they're gonna recast. I hate to say it. I think they're gonna recast Superman because I don't think Henry Cavill will return to it in the state it's in. So I feel like they're gonna recast that. That'll probably be the biggest thing to be rebooted. Characters like Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman and Zachary Levi's Shazam will probably get pulled in and soft rebooted, mainly because their movies are so separate anyway. You just kind of clear out and forget about the Batman vs Superman and the Justice League movie. and you allow for a new version of those events to be had. You bring in more characters, recast, because obviously Ezra Miller's probably, I feel like his head's on the chopping block anyway. So get rid of Ezra Miller, you recast the Flash, you bring in Green Lantern. Um, yeah, I think that's the route they'll end up going, and it'll be really interesting because the thing I liked most about this, right? And I know once again, I'm sorry, I'm going a long time. They wanted to
Oh, go ahead.
they wanted to align film, streaming, shows, and games. So does that mean now they're going to create games that fit into the storylines of these shows?
And you'll have to play the games to understand the next.
That'd be cool. Can you imagine like an
Maybe,
Arkham Knight,
yeah.
like an Arkham Batman Arkham series that's connected to Robert
Connected to the
Pattinson?
Pattinson.
Yes.
No, that'd be fantastic. Who wouldn't play it?
That's
Who
what
wouldn't
I'm
play it?
saying. Like you get guys.
This is a side note.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, before I forget, I haven't seen any of the CW shows. Right, I really have no interest. I see a lot of the memes and stuff, but I was scrolling through my TikTok earlier, and there was a video that came up of the CW Flash lightsabers, like the whatever those are called.
Okay.
Man, what are they doing? What are they doing? Somebody in the studio said, yeah, like that's what we're going with.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen how they look or any of these shows look, to all the listeners, please go look at the CGI on YouTube. Pull up a quick clip and just take a look.
I'll defend Arrow, but the Flash in particular is just bad.
Oh yeah. Oh, I haven't seen it, but from what the clips I've seen, it just seems like it's I don't know who the viewers are. I don't know who's putting money into this. It seems like a mistake.
I will say the only problem with Arrow, I like Arrow, but Stephen Amell's take on Arrow and the CW's take on Arrow is just the Batman. Like his character is just Batman, but with an arrow instead. Like they don't even call him Green Arrow; they just call him Arrow, and he's a vigilante. Which is cool and it's a good show, but like, I like Stephen Amell as Arrow, but I want to see him more as the cocky version because I know he can pull it off because he's a stellar actor.
So you're saying it's uninspired?
Say again, I'm sorry.
You're saying it's uninspired,
I would, yeah, it's.
or
I wouldn't say I don't want to say Stephen Amell's his performance was uninspired. I will say the story arc is very much its own take on the character.
I see.
Which, like I said, it's not bad, but it's just Batman. Like, that's all he is. If you've not seen it, you watch the first however many episodes and insert traumatic event, insert the need for, I don't even call it revenge, but just, sure, vengeance, yeah, whatever. And then he runs out in the night wearing dark green with an arrow and he beats people up.
It's something that we've seen before.
Exactly. And like, not like, once again, I don't want to call that, because Arrow is the one CW show I would defend. It's not bad. It's just, if you inserted Batman instead of the Arrow, they'd be the same thing.
Well, I've not seen Arrow, but maybe I'll take it off my watch list then.
It's not bad. I wouldn't say not watch it, but like, if you like, I want Stephen Amell to be back, but I want him to be the true Green Arrow. Give me the true Oliver Queen.
Yeah, you say there are just better superhero stories out there then.
I'll say that, yeah.
Okay.
And that.
So what?
Sorry, go ahead. What?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's it for the superhero stuff. If you want to move on.
Let's move on. Yeah.
Okay.
I might be superheroed out.
No, I think that's it. I think, because that's the thing. Superhero movies and comic book movies take up so much, and I'm going through our list to make sure that I didn't miss one. No. Okay, yes, we're good. So we've gone through our superhero stuff, and now we can move on to something cinema that is not related to comic books, Marvel, or DC. Cole, we have a box office winner. We have a box office winner this weekend.
And what film might that be?
The Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore.
The Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Yes, it has earned
which
$43 million in its opening weekend to secure first place. But, and I think you know what I'm going to say, this is the lowest earning and lowest opening of any of the Harry Potter movies or the Wizarding World franchise, whatever you want to call it, ever.
And for our viewers, if you didn't know, the Wizarding World franchise is the second biggest film franchise of all time, just below the MCU. And it's not that far off from the MCU. These movies are money pits, money pits. They make so much money. J.K. Rowling, billionaire. These movies make so much money. And The Secrets of Dumbledore seems like there's zero hype for it. Absolute zero hype for these movies. When I was a kid, man, from probably Order of the Phoenix until they put out the last Harry Potter movie, I went to the midnight showing of every one of those films.
Oh yeah, like you had to be in the theater if it wasn't at the midnight, you at least went to watch it.
Yeah, and people were dressed up. You'd look across the aisle and Dumbledore would be sitting there with a big box of pop.
Yeah.
Professor McGonagall would be in the front row. I mean, these were not just films that came out; they were cultural events. It was like when Endgame came out. It was
Right.
like the Olympics. It was like when JFK got shot. Probably, I don't know. It's just a lot of people cared, and a lot of people had a lot to do with it. I'll tell you what. If I went down to Richmond Cinemark, I wonder how many people were dressed up to see the Secrets of Dumbledore
Probably not a lot.
on the opening night. Yeah, maybe one.
Right.
Got some weird looks going into the theater too.
Now don't get me wrong. 43 million is a lot of money. But we'll get
Yeah.
to this in a little bit. Very soon actually. But last week, Sonic 2 made 70 million. In the same time.
People seem to care a lot more about Sonic than they do the Harry Potter universe.
Which is exactly the way you just said it. Isn't that wild?
It's crazy. Crazy to me. If you would have told me that right after the Deathly Hallows came out, that they're coming out with a sequel trilogy of 3 Harry Potter movies about Dumbledore and about who's the guy that he fights? What's his name?
You know, I was just trying to remember it, and now that you've said, here's the thing. Grindelwald. That's it. I've seen the first one. See, this is something we need to do. We need to just have a Harry Potter month at one point because, like, I watched all the Harry Potters, but I haven't watched them in probably a decade.
Well, I just recently watched all 8 films. Like last month, I went through all of them.
See, that's something that we need to do at some point when we go through a few more directors and maybe a few like historical stuff. We need to just have like a month of this franchise, and Harry Potter needs to be at the top of the list. Because
yeah, let's do it. I could talk Harry Potter all day.
I've seen the first Fantastic Beasts once again when it came out, and I haven't seen it since, and I don't really remember it. And then I didn't watch the second one. So when this one came out, especially with everything that's happened with Johnny Depp, not that I wouldn't say I'm a huge Johnny Depp guy, but like I just didn't think like if Warner Brothers is going to, this is just a personal take, if Warner Brothers is going to fire Johnny Depp from Fantastic Beasts but keep Amber Heard for the Aquaman, they are not taking they're not taking a non-biased approach as a company. They're obviously taking a side, and in my mind that's inherently incorrect.
Especially at this point when it's so known that she was the abuser in the situation and that he was just a guy trying to make new movies and play the guitar.
Right.
You know?
And see, like I don't want to take a side, and I do think that you're right in many respects. Now, obviously, we don't know what's on the inside of their relationship, and I don't want to make this like a drama show. So, like, I'll let you say your piece if you've got more to say about it after what I'm about to say. But like I said, like it's not so much like my personal opinion about which one's right and which one's wrong. Because if I said my personal opinion, it'd be what you just said. Like I would say that she was the abuser, just from what I've seen, right, from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
But from a non-biased perspective, you can't take a side in something like that. If you're gonna fire one, you should probably fire the other,
or keep them both.
Or keep them both, especially when both have been proven by that point to have committed some sort of abuse.
Right.
So it's like I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me that they as a company took an obvious side, and now I think they're paying for it. I mean, I love Mads Mikkelsen, but I'm not gonna lie. When I saw Johnny Depp get fired and Amber Heard didn't, and they cast Mads Mikkelsen, I love Mads Mikkelsen. I was not interested in this movie.
No, not interested. I'll watch him. I'm actually supposed to watch him with my girlfriend Because like we've been watching the HP movies and like we just want more. You know, we need we need more wizarding stuff in our lives because like you know we're craving it at this point. So we're probably gonna go back and watch. We're gonna go watch those pretty soon. I think they're on HBO. The first
Yes.
two.
I think actually aren't all 8 on HBO? I swore they were.
Oh, I was saying just the Wizarding World,
Oh,
the
Fantastic
spin-offs.
Beasts.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, the Fantastic Beast. Yeah, all eight of the original ones are on HBO. Yeah, I'm gonna say the best is Prisoner of Azkaban.
That one's pretty good. Like I said, I haven't watched them in like a decade, and that's probably like that's not me being over exaggerating. I probably haven't watched them since 2012. So like I'm not gonna put an input on that, but I will take like I will say that you're probably not wrong.
How big of a part of your childhood were they?
Oh, they were huge. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
whatever year Deathly Hallow came out was the last time I watched it. The part 2 to Deathly Hallows.
Oh wow. You were like, okay, they're done. On to
Yeah,
something else.
I was young when it came out. Like when part 2 came out and I watched it, I cried as a child and I said no more. What year
I
did you
can't
come?
take the pain anymore.
July in 2011.
What?
Yeah.
What? Those movies are over 10 years old. The
Yeah.
last one's over 10 years old.
Yep.
A decade. A decade.
I told
They
you,
look
man.
phenomenal.
I told you.
They are phenomenal.
I mean, and
A decade.
their CGI stands up for being a decade old too.
Sure. They the biggest critique that I have about the whole Deathly Hollows. The first one, I mean, it's setting up a lot about Horcruxes, setting up a lot about Dumbledore's past, Harry's past, the Wizarding world in itself, Tom Riddle's past, many other characters. So it's just an exhibition of maybe that's not the right word, but it's just setting up for part two, and then part two, it's it's great. Don't get me wrong, but it just seems like the book was more, let's say the book was more grand, and the book was more of like a just a beautiful culmination of all these books. And then the movie, it 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 seemed like it wasn't, dare I say, epic enough.
Right. And see that I'm looking up because I'm not done feeling old. I looked up when The Sorcerer's Stone came out. From 2001 to 2011, they came out with 8 movies, and I watched all of them in that 10-year span from when I was born in 2000. So
Right.
from the time I was however old enough to have a conscience and remember what I was watching to the end, so I would give it probably 6-7 years, right?
Yeah.
I watched all those movies, especially when the ones that were coming out in theaters came out. So the one I remember is like the Goblet of Fire, right? Like that one I remember very vividly in the theater.
Yeah.
Because if I
Oh
were
yeah, I saw it.
2005. After that, The Order of the Phoenix came out in 07, Half Blood Prince in 09. So it's stuff like that. Like those movies I remember very vividly in the theater. So, but yeah, it's like I know we've gone off on a tangent here, but it's just crazy to think, and I'll wrap it around. It's crazy to think that those movies in that time frame and the movies subsequent that came after that in the Fantastic Beasts are as big as they are, and as you said before, they only made 43 million, which is so astronomically low when you think of film, Hollywood.
Right. Yeah.
And there are 2 more things of drama that have happened with this movie. Okay, one of them is more well known than the other. I feel like. The first, and I'll say the one that people probably heard and probably are being very mad about. I know I was agitated about it, but what are you going to do? The Chinese version of the movie cut out 6 seconds of dialogue between Dumbledore and his character development of whatever it was of just dialogue in the Chinese version because it implicated homosexuality.
Oh. Oh, I mean, who did I talk? It might have been on this podcast. I was telling somebody this the other day. You know, she wrote him to be gay, but she just didn't tell anybody, right? J.K. Rowling is my theory because like Dumbledore, I think I always kind of suspected that. Even as a little kid, I was like, yeah, there's something. I think this guy. I think he's playing for the other team here. You know.
Swinging the bat for the other side.
Right. Right. Um. I don't really know what I'm saying. I mean, it's kind of like the Chinese. Like they took out John Boyega in the Force Awakens poster because he's a black guy. They
Right.
put a mask over Black Panther in the poster. Disney, and then they go and they put all these things on their social media about being so progressive and being, like they love everybody, but then they cater to the Chinese conservative audience.
It,
Cater to the censorship.
it really it did frustrate me. Like, there's nothing we can do because it's the Chinese and what they want, and it's their government and whatnot, and but like, I don't know, like here's the thing, like you said, it's the character.
It's the care. It's part of the. It's part of the universe. Like
Yeah,
that's
like
just
like
how Dumbledore
there's
is.
nothing wrong with how that character, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing wrong in real life when like whatever a person wants. Hey man, if it makes you happy, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
be
yeah.
you and whatever makes you happy. If J.K. Rowling says Dumbledore is in fact gay, he's gay, and I think, and you said it right. If you're a company like Disney and you say these things, and I get you want to make money in that market, because I promise the Chinese market probably makes you a lot of money. But
Right.
you would wish, just from a humanitarian perspective, you just wish that they would have stood their ground on that kind of issue.
Yeah, honestly, I'd be like, yeah, screw your extra 250 mil, whatever. Like, I'm not selling you guys this movie here.
Which
Like,
probably would have made them more
mm,
money on the back end anyway.
yeah, because people would be like, okay, like, you know,
Let's
like
support
we're
this
actually
movie.
gonna go see this, this movie now.
Yeah,
We're gonna go see Dumbledore in all his gay glory
yeah,
in our American theater.
yeah. And see, that's like, personally, I love that about that character. Like, it's just, you don't see enough of people in leadership roles or people of like that legendary status being of that culture. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you don't ever see like imagine if like Rocky Balboa was gay. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
that's something that we as a culture should, I think we really need to kind of wrap our heads around, that characters can be whatever characters are like in real life. Like, anybody can be whatever they want. So why can't this character be that way? As long as
You
it's
know,
not. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that you don't really see a lot of like hyper masculine gay characters in films,
Right.
and I wonder why that is.
See that? Yeah, same. I don't know, man. Like, that's the thing. Is that, like, as long as you're not trying to make, like, I call it a political point. As long as the point of the story isn't to say that that character leans that way, and it's just a part of their character,
Yeah.
it's perfect. And like, so that's one reason why I kind of want to watch this movie, because I want to see how, because it's only 6 seconds of dialogue that got cut, right?
Right.
So it makes me feel like they did it right, to where like it's just normal. It's just who he is. Like, if you do it that way, I feel like it says so much more about what you're trying to say than by, for instance, making the whole story centered around the fact that they lean that way. Unless like it's done in a very particular way, if that makes sense.
Oh, I get you. Yeah. You have to tastefully do it, and you can't be pandered. Is
Exactly. Like,
is what I think, because people can sniff it out if you're trying to pander. They
and
can sniff
it
it out
just,
real quick.
you know how many times I've seen like a story that is so interesting, but because of that pandering, it's ruined it.
I hate it. Yeah.
It's like,
Like,
okay, you sacrificed your story to make a political point, and now the story is lackluster, and I feel bad for not liking it.
yeah, and I'm supposed to like it
Yeah,
due to whatever reason.
because of that point you're trying to make. When in reality, like I said earlier, the point is made more clear if you just make them be that way, because that's who they are, like people in real life.
Yeah,
Ugh.
and yeah, you're exactly right. I know but it's Hollywood, man. Like, what are you gonna expect?
I know, and on that note, we'll move on to the last thing about the Fantastic Beast. I said there were two things. The second thing, Fantastic Beasts 4 has not been approved, not been greenlit by Warner Brothers, because it all depends on the success of this movie. Um, Not gonna lie, with that in mind, I'm kind of worried about the franchise.
And that's not to say that I don't want to see more Harry Potter, right? they're going to be making Harry Potter stuff until me and you are old men. They will,
Factual.
right? There's money to be made in it. It's just that I think it's like Star Wars. Like the prequels, although they were great, probably a lot better than the Fantastic Beasts. They were a part of the Star Wars franchise that came out and, met with mixed reviews and little time passed, they made some more. They made more. There was a demand for it, and there's always going to be a demand for Harry Potter stuff. Something that I read online that was very interesting, and I don't have a lot of, I guess, evidence to back it up. It was just making the point that the reason that Harry Potter spin-offs and sequels are so hard to make is because the entire the entire series was written for all of the laws of the universe to set up this one story of a kid named Harry Potter who goes to Hogwarts. Bang, bang, bang happens. Bang, bang, bang. He shows down with Voldemort. It works for that story and that story alone. But there's not a lot else that you could really write about it because the world building is so bad. All of the wizards in the Harry Potter universe all work for the wizard government. They all just work for the Ministry of Magic. You just go to one of the 3 wizarding schools, and then that's what you do. You just work for the wizarding world. There's not like these people are basically omnipotent. Like think about the things that Dumbledore could have been doing with his power, solving world hunger. No, that wouldn't be good for Harry Potter's journey as a young wizard. So I don't really know how much world building was done back then. Not a lot when she was writing them and they were making the films. And I just don't know if the universe lends itself very much for expansion.
Well, in my mind, that just opens the door, and I don't want to, like I just said, opens the door. I don't want to open this door just for us to lead down another 20 minutes of discussing Harry Potter because we got a lot more news to go over.
A lot more.
But I will say, I feel like that opens the door for a lot more storytelling because it's not so much that, like, yes, I agree, those stories were built and that world was built strictly for Harry Potter, but you can also twist that as, oh, the world has only been, like, we've only scratched the surface of what could be in this world.
Oh, right.
Like, how
Sure.
easy
Like
as
what's
a
happening
writer.
in America
Yeah.
during the things.
Like, because they reference the American version of Hogwarts. I can't remember the name of it. But there is one.
It's called like Boba's.
Like, I wish, like, if you're looking it up, I appreciate
Let
it.
me find it.
Because I know there is one. They talk about it, especially in the books. But, like, the point is that, like,
The Ilvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. It's in
yes.
Massachusetts.
Yes. So do you know how much story that there, like, you can write that off as, oh, this isn't that we had lackluster story or world building. This is just that was all that mattered in that story, and now we can move on and build.
I like that. Sure.
Which, like, you
It
could easily
was
write that off. Like, what you just laid out, which is completely factual. It's super easy for writers, whether it's J.K. Rowling or not, to be like, yo, this is actually what happened.
yeah. A lot of people have a lot of distrust of J.K. Rowling too. So her future might be a little bit shaky. Of course, it's her story, and they're very open to working with her. But her fan base, they really have turned on her. They don't like her, and because of the comments and beliefs that she holds about transgender people, she seems to be a little bit off her rocker. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not a dead franchise, but it'll take a while. It'll get a kick in the pants, and they'll make something cool out of it.
I sure hope. And I think that's a perfect ending point on the Fantastic Beasts discussion because, as I said earlier, I said it was going to be soon, and we ended up not making it soon. But that doesn't matter because now we're moving on to Sonic 2 in its second week. My friend.
Sonic.
Right, go ahead.
Sonic number 2. Tell me
Yes.
what you think.
Well, see, okay. I have to apologize to those that listened. I know it's a small few of you at this point because this is essentially, as you said before recording, this is our first birthday. our second week. The first
This is
and
the second
true.
podcast that I've ever recorded.
Yes,
The second time I've ever recorded a podcast.
yes, and the second and let me put it this way: the first time that we've made this a weekly thing.
Right.
So I said last week that we would watch Unbearable, and I'm a big dummy, and I didn't realize that it comes out not this week, but the upcoming week. Not only did I fail to see that, but also we tried to go instead and watch Sonic 2, and that didn't happen either.
Didn't happen.
So
Time constraint. I got the flu actually.
yeah,
Um,
and it's the end of the semester for us in college, so
yeah, we got things to be doing, man.
yeah. Not to say that we won't be watching a movie for this upcoming week because we will. But this last week it just didn't happen. So you
We'll be
asked me,
seeing Unbearable Weight.
yes, yes, and I'm so excited. And then the following week, the plan is for the Northman, and I know I'm watching that at some point. Whether or not it's the when we say it is besides the point.
Man, if they don't sell me a ticket to that, I'm bringing a gun in that bitch.
Don't
I'm gonna
say
say, put my ass in a seat.
don't say that.
Oh wait, I can't say that. Yeah,
No, it's
no,
okay.
I will not be doing that.
No, you know what, you're good, man. I mean, this is our show, and we can put whatever we want in here. Whether or not the FBI comes knocking on your door is beyond my control, but you can say it. But anyway,
All
so
jokes.
yeah, all jokes. Back to Sonic 2. Sonic in the second week of it being a thing made 30 million, bringing its worldwide, or well, domestic earning, I should say, over 119 million, and it's worldwide to over 231 million. It has made. I'm trying to see here. How much did the Batman make? Okay,
Ooh, 750.
Sonic in 2 weeks has made more or almost or either right at or over a third of what Batman has made in its overall gross. So Sonic is popular. Sonic 2 is popular.
It's a beloved character. I mean, it's the great video games. I mean, people love, and I feel like the fans of Sonic. Here's the thing that gets me: the fans of Sonic, they're not fans of the Sonic games. They're not fans of like the Sonic stuff. They're fans of like the fan fiction, and they're fans of the characters, and they like to draw them in all these different scenarios. They draw them with big hedgehog dicks, and they draw them making out with one another, and they go to the theater and they drop that week's paycheck on a big bucket of popcorn and Sonic 2 tickets. It's not for me. Part of me is a bit glad that we skipped up on it because I'm not a Sonic guy, but I understand that there are a lot of really weird people out there.
Right. Not to call people that like all Sonic people weird, but there are a few.
No,
And
maybe most, we'll say.
I liked when I was a kid. I liked Sonic X. I grew up on that. I played the game for those that are on a nostalgia trip. We've been on one because we've been calling ourselves old all episode. I played Sonic Unleashed on the Wii, which was a game that came out in like 2011.
Ooh.
So I had Sonic in my childhood. I wouldn't say it was like prevalent, but I had it, right?
Man, I'll tell you what I had. You know what I had?
What?
I had Mario and Sonic at the Beijing Olympics. That's all I had, brother. That's the only Sonic yeah. No, there was no Sonic in the Ballinger household.
And that's that's nothing wrong with that. I was interested in this, but like I think there's a reason that we decided not to watch it, as you said, because we were so hyped for Unbearable, and like I said, I'm very dumb. And so now that we are actually focused on Unbearable, but Sonic, from what I've seen, it's gotten a lot of good reviews. Shockingly good, as you said, people have enjoyed it. And another fun tidbit: that 70 million it made last weekend is Jim Carrey's biggest box office opening ever.
Really?
Yep, think about it. Of
You
all the
wouldn't
movies,
expect it.
of all the movies that
Wouldn't
this man's
expect
made.
it.
Yeah, I know. Of all the movies this man has made.
Well, movies now just make they generally make a lot more than they did maybe Jim Carrey's height. But still, it's surprising, very surprising.
Yeah, I mean it. I'm gonna sound really selfish. I want Jim Carrey back for one more movie.
Sure.
But if he retires, and he goes out on top because Sonic is huge, and I just want to see him. And I don't know if I want his last movie to be Sonic 3. I want him in. I don't know. I just want him. He said he would do an Ace Ventura 3 with Christopher Nolan if he directed it, and part of me wants to see that.
I want to see a Truman Show.
Oh man, I
Sequel.
forgot about the Truman Show. That'd be a great sequel.
Isn't it wonderful?
It's such a good movie.
It's just a wonderful movie.
Who directed that one? Hold on.
Let's take us a look here. I've got it pulled up.
The Truman Show. I have forgotten about that.
Peter Weir. Who is Peter Weir?
That's
because he's directed.
Great question. Peter Weir. He's an Australian film. Yeah. We're at the same exact
Dead Poet Society.
No way. Okay, so this man is like.
Right, yeah.
This man's like, he's got a good catalog.
Well,
I
mean, we're looking at not that much that I've heard of.
Okay, never mind then. Yeah.
Really, not much that I've heard of.
Between the years 1989 and 1998, he had 2 pretty good ones, and then after that, he kind of fell off.
Right, but I mean, if I had produced or if I had directed Dead Poet Society and The Truman Show, I mean, those are some of the greatest movies ever.
Oh yeah,
ever made. So I would be satisfied with my career.
Oh, completely agree.
I'll tell you another one that's just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Everyone should watch it at least once in their lives. It's a coming of age, gorgeous movie. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
I was gonna talk about that earlier, but I forgot about it, and I'm happy you brought it up. I want you to keep talking now.
We're gonna say that's Kate Winslet's best role. Mark Ruffalo plays a phenomenal role in the movie. The acting is top tier. The cinematography, everything involved in the cinematic aspects of the movie are perfect. Amazing use of color, amazing use of flashbacks, flash forward. It's sort of we're not going to say it's sci-fi, but it's definitely, it plays into the extra physical, aspects of life with the memory wiping machine. But it's a love movie all in all, and it's almost a I don't know how to describe how it's deeper. It feels like it's a love movie that plays into the most subconscious parts of our mind. It's almost like a love movie that you would have it's like a dream you would have, a beautiful abstract dream. It's non-linear, and it's just absolutely, it's lovely.
And everything you've said, I completely agree with. And as you were discussing what this movie is about, I went over and I wanted to find its ratings and its worldwide gross, because I feel like there are a lot of movies that fit in this category, but this movie in particular is so criminally underrated and did so bad at the box office for no reason. Yes. Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't know it did bad.
No. Okay. So listen, this movie domestically, in its opening weekend, made just over $8 million, and in total made $34 million.
Wow.
And worldwide, it made $74 million.
So it did not do well at all.
Did not.
I mean, it's a cult classic.
If you type in reviews, I mean, Rotten Tomatoes has it at 92%. Empire Online has it at 4 out of 5. IMDb has it at 8.3 out of 10. Just the Google reviews have it at 4.7 out of 5. Like everywhere you look, including us, it is loved. But
it's absolutely loved. Because you can't watch it and not like it.
Right, no, factual, and which is weird. It just makes no sense because it came out in 2004. It's not like it was completely out of the like. It was a little pre-social media, but 2004 information was still spreading faster than, say, 1989 when the Dead Poet Society came out. And the Dead Poet Society was amazing.
Right,
they did fantastic. So it's just weird. It's just weird to think that movie. Once again, we went on another tangent as we normally do, but it's just weird to think that movie did so bad.
Oh, it was post 9/11. What do you expect? People
In
were
3 years,
the
man.
Iraq War, but George Bush was the president. I mean, what you know?
Yeah, that's. I'm gonna
I was
blame
3 years old.
Same. I'm gonna blame George Bush for this movie that is old, like
Yeah, man.
going on 20 years
We
old.
we had a war to fight. People weren't interested in this lovey-dovey bullshit.
I guarantee you, a lot of movies did very well in 2004.
Probably right.
You know what? 2004 highest grossing movies, 2004. Let's see here. Shrek 2,
Ha! Shrek 2.
the year of 2004. Okay. Shrek.
Passion of the
Can you
Christ.
guess? I want you to guess the other one. Okay, I told you. Actually, okay, there are five. Five. The top five are pretty noticeable. 2004 was a big year. Oh my gosh, so many of these movies. I'm just looking down
Big
this
year in
list.
cinema.
Okay, so I already told you Shrek 2 grossed over, I mean, just domestically, over $441 million. I want you to.
Incredibles.
Okay, are you looking? Are you looking at it right now,
Incredibles.
or did you,
Yeah,
or are you guessing?
I'm looking at them.
That,
I'm not looking at the. I'm not looking at the how they made money. I'm just looking at a list of them.
okay, well, so you're not looking in order of what they grossed.
No.
Okay. What was? Can you guess? You've already guessed number 5. So 1 is Shrek 2. 5 is The Incredibles. Can you guess what number 2 is?
Spider-Man 2.
Completely correct. Absolutely correct. 373 million. All right, what was 3?
Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed.
No, but that's a great guess. I don't even think that's made the list here. Garfield made the list.
Garfield.
The SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Oh no, there it is. Okay. Yeah, Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed made over 84 million. Right above Cheaper by the Dozen and the SpongeBob movie. But you got it. Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 was second in 2004. What was third?
Have I said it yet?
No.
White chicks. I don't know.
No, it was The Passion of the Christ. I didn't think you'd get that one.
The Passion of the Christ. Okay, yeah. Listen,
And
The Passion of the Christ. I don't know if you've seen it. It's great.
yeah, I've actually
Phenomenal.
not. That's the one made by Mel Gibson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not seen that one, and it's been on my list for a long time. I know he
Yeah, look at
funded
this. This is so biased. 80% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes for Passion of the Christ. 49% tomato meter. So the critics hated it, but the audience, like, it's not. It's supposed to be about just like a day or two in Jesus's life, right?
it. Right.
And it's not as much of a narrative film as it is just a visceral, violent, shocking film,
Right.
right? So I'm sure that the movie going critic is gonna say, "Oh well, it lost so much of its narrative qualities. It's not that much of a story." Well, it's not supposed to be, right? So one of the reviews here says, "If I were a Christian, I'd be appalled to have this primitive and pornographic bloodbath presumed to speak for me." Which I'm gonna counter because I think that Christians really value the pain that that Jesus went through in the New Testament, and that's what the movie portrays. So I say fuck the critics.
Hey, I feel you, man, and that's the thing. Every movie is gonna have its critics. What's
Right.
what's really weird is I'm looking for the eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, and it is not on this list on Box Office Mojo.
Really?
Which is really weird. White Chicks is here.
Well, it just didn't. It didn't make much.
Oh, you know what? You know why it's not there? Because I was looking at the domestic. There, it'll be here. There it is. It was 78th in that year. The 78th most highest grossing movie in that year.
The 78th.
Yep, at 30.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and see from what I've seen, other than our masterpiece, Shrek 2, that we've mentioned. It's the best movie of 2004 that came out, without a doubt.
Better than Spider-Man 4.
Spider-Man 2, yeah.
Or
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man 2. Sorry.
Yeah,
And
Eternal Sunshine of the
well,
Spotless Mind is a
the
masterpiece.
reason why I said 4 was because we said Shrek 2 is 1, Spider-Man 2 is 2, Passion of the Christ was 3, The
Oh,
Incredibles is 5. The fourth best and highest rated movie or highest grossing movie in 2004 was The Prisoner of Azkaban.
The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah.
Oh, one of my favorite films. Also Mean Creek. Have you ever seen Mean Creek? Came out that year.
Well, Shark Tales and National Treasure came out in this year and are 8 and 10 on the most grossed movies.
Also two staples of my childhood. Had
Facts.
both of them on DVD actually.
And I think on that note, we've gone so far off the deep end that I almost forgot what our actual news was, and it's Sonic 2 back to. But okay, this is a perfect segue. Actually, I looked at National Treasure, and I have two things related to National Treasure. One completely related: the Disney Plus National Treasure series will be returning Justin Bartha as Riley Poole. You love
Hey,
to
I'm
see
all
it.
about it. That was his sidekick, you know.
You love to see it.
Love to see it. He was great. Riley was.
He was. He was the perfect sidekick, the perfect pessimistic, smart computer guy.
Yeah, he was funny. I liked him. I liked his hoodies. You know, he had kind of a goatee.
Great guy, great character. So happy to see
Right.
him back. And another thing kind of related to National Treasure, but not really. Nick Cage, the man, the myth, the whatever you want to call him. He's one of my favorite people ever. This man said recently that he would love to be in a Muppets movie. And he said this.
Huh.
He quoted this. You ready? This is his direct quote. I would love to be in a Muppet movie. I think Kermit and I could be best friends, and I've always had a crush on Miss Piggy. End quote.
I have two.
That
Like
is
Miss Piggy,
not the response I was expecting.
she's thick.
Yeah, okay. And
That's
on
all I'm
that,
gonna say.
we are moving on, because that once again we went so far off the deep end with that, and it did not take us nearly as long to get there. um, um, Next on our list here, we're nearing the end, and at an hour in, we're nearing the end of our movie news. The Ghost of Tsushima, the video game, now being adapted to the silver screen, I should say, hires its screenwriter in Takashi Dosher, as I think how you pronounce his last name. I am horrible at pronunciations, but his first name is Takashi. Pretty proud of myself. He wrote movies titled Only and Blue. I've not seen either of these. Don't really know what they're about, but they both seem to be very popular and very highly praised. I do have a question about this, and I want to ask, well, actually two. The first one I want to pose to you: have you ever played The Ghost of Tsushima?
No.
Okay, I've not directly played it, but I have watched it, and I have I played it a little bit, and it is a beautiful game. The story is it's enthralling, it's enriching, it's beautiful, right?
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
The game itself is actually made to be kind of like a movie. It's
Okay.
very cinematic. So with that, I don't understand why they don't just bring on the writers of the game to write the movie.
Would seem like the logical progression, huh?
Nothing against Takashi Dosher. Respect, he is where I want to be in life as a screenwriter / creator. That is something that I would love to do. Much respect.
As would I.
Well, but he shouldn't. I hate to say it. Why are you there? Because there are perfectly good writers who already made the story for what it is.
Yeah, like they've already got dialogue. They've got
Beautiful.
hell. They've got everything. Yeah.
So yeah, I am going to be highly excited for that movie just because the Ghost of Tsushima. I guarantee that's going to be a part 1, part 2. There are going to be multiple movies of it. There has to be because the story is so deep in the game.
Well, as we see from Sonic, man, people love to go watch their favorite video game. They love to watch them on the silver screen, like you said.
Right. Yeah, and so that's
We're
my
gonna have
only.
like
Sorry, go ahead.
they're gonna come out with like a Wordle movie, and
Yeah.
then they're gonna come out with.
I hate, dude,
I don't know.
I love and hate Wordle because I'm bad at word games.
Oh, I'm a word game fiend, man. New York Times crossword puzzles, like I do one or two a day, if not more.
I like to think I'm smart, but then I play a word game and then I'm humbled real quick and I feel dumb and then I hate playing them. So I respect
Maybe we should make this a Wordle
a
podcast.
Wordle podcast. That could be daily.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
subscribe, do whatever you want if you want us to play Wordle.
Yeah. Go drop a comment below if
Yep.
you want
Tell us
Wordle
tell us
content.
about Wordle. Okay.
I actually saw a guy streaming it the other day.
Streaming Wordle.
Yeah,
I respect.
I
I mean,
respect it too. He was getting
the
hella quick.
stream could only be what, 10 minutes maybe at most.
Oh no, he was doing them far quicker than that.
Well,
Like
wait,
he was going so fast.
but there's only one Wordle a day, right?
Oh well, he was using like an archive or like a clone,
Oh, okay. Well, good for him, man.
one that would just like give him a new word as much as he wanted.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Godspeed to him.
Godspeed, whoever you are, the Wordle word game streamer.
You
Anyway,
have our endorsement.
sorry. Moving on. We talked last week how we hoped and thought David Lynch might be in the Cannes. I know I'm pronouncing that. It's probably Cannes, but the Cannes Film Festival. It's not David Lynch. It's David Cronenberg. In his new film Crimes of the Future.
Oh, Lynch is not in the festival.
No. It's David Cronenberg,
Drat.
the Canadian filmmaker who I knew what he made, but I want to go back over because I can't remember off the top of my head. Just looking through his
The Fly.
yeah, he made The Fly, and recently he did one with Robert Pattinson called Cosmopolis.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. That was 2012. That was a decade ago, sir.
Yeah, I know. Been a long time. Maps to the Stars in 14. He did Jason X. No way. He did not direct Jason X. This man did not direct Jason X. Hold on.
Really?
No. He didn't. I don't know why. Oh, he's in the movie. Okay, so he didn't.
He's in Jason X.
He is Dr. Wimmer.
I mean, I can't say that like I could call forth the image of Dr. Wimmer from Jason X in my brain right now.
Neither can I. I'm assuming he died pretty quickly. That is a long-winded way to say he's made a more than a few movies, been a part of more than a few movies, and he's got a not so bad, like The Fly was a good movie. I want to watch Cosmopolis to see what that's about. But like there's other than after The Fly is like Crash, Videodrome, The History of Violence. I'm sure that these are good movies. I just not seen them.
Isn't Crash supposed to be like really good?
Probably. I've not seen it. It's got Jane Spader's in it.
Crash. Ooh.
It only made It only made 23 million at the box office.
So interesting.
All right, read us the premise from Google.
Crash is about the strange lure of the auto collision, provoking as it does the human fascination with death and the tendency to eroticize danger. Most motorists will slow down to stare at the scene of a collision. They may feel their pulses quickening and become aware of the fragility of their own bodies. The characters of Crash carry this awareness a step further, cherishing and nurturing it. For them, a car collision is a sexual turn on and a jolting life force they come to crave.
That instantly reminds me of Julia, what's her last name? Oh crap. She did Titane last year.
Julia.
The director Ducrenow. There we go. Julia Ducrenow.
Seems like one of her flicks.
Yeah, the reason why I say it reminds me is because Titane is about something very similar. The main character, it's a body horror, and the main character has a car fetish.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen like Maximum Overdrive, but like maybe I have a car fetish.
Do you now?
A lot of people from my hometown have a car fetish, man. More so a truck.
Listen, man, my dad is a mechanic, so
you know all about it.
I'm all too familiar with this, and I know it's a thing. Dad, if you're listening, I'm sorry. But anyway,
I'm not sorry, Ryan's dad.
Once again, long-winded way of saying that David Cronenberg has a new film called Crimes of the Future that dropped a trailer to be released at the Cannes Film Festival. As we said, it's the wrong David that we thought. I really wish it was David Lynch. Nothing against you, Mr. Cronenberg, but Lynch is a little bit upper. He's a little higher in status. Um, and the
What do you
movie,
think Lynch is up to right now?
I don't know, maybe retirement. I don't know, but this movie,
Okay.
Crimes of the Future, stars Viggo Mortensen, Leah Sado, and Kristen Stewart. So I can get me. I like Kristen Stewart. Like she is a phenomenal actress.
Yeah, I got a lot of faith in her actually.
Yeah. So this is
She's great.
one. This is one I'll actually be interested to see. Strictly like I.
Hey, Viggo Mortensen too.
Yeah, that better say yeah. Those two together specifically. I'm
Yeah,
very
he's great.
excited. But I focused on Kristen Stewart because there is something else that some more news from her. So she's in Crimes of the Future that's being dropped very soon, but she is also set to star in Rose Glass's next movie. She was the director, creative lead of Saint Maud and Room 55. She is going to be playing in her new movie, Love Lies Bleeding. It is a romantic thriller. Once again, I love Kristen Stewart as an actress, so I'm very excited to see what that will look like.
Just a side thought, and we've covered both of these films on the podcast. The two that I'm the most interested for are Disappointment Boulevard, Ari Aster, um, starring Joaquin Phoenix. Did we covered that one, right?
Which one?
Disappointment Boulevard.
We talked, I think, a little bit about this, whether it was on the podcast or not. I don't remember.
Yeah. It's gonna be good. It was supposed to be 4 hours, and then they were like, "Hey, you have to cut it down." So it's gonna be like 2.5 hours now. And all we know is that it's about one of the most successful businessmen in history. We don't know who that is, but I'm sure seeing as Joaquin Phoenix is the actor of our generation, one of them at least, and Ari Aster is my favorite director. One of my favorite directors.
Hey,
It's gonna be good.
that's another one that we got to do. We've done Eggers now. It's hard to say that we shouldn't do Ari Aster, the Midsommar Heredity director.
Have you seen The Strange Thing About the Johnsons?
No, that one's the one I was looking at.
Ari Aster. Yeah, you never seen that, man?
No.
That's my go-to. Like if we've got like 4 or 5 people, like new people hanging around, I'll throw it on the TV because it's only like 25 minutes, right?
Oh yeah.
I've seen The Strange Thing About the Johnsons maybe 10 times.
Interesting.
And it's a phenomenon because it's usually if someone watches it, goes into it not knowing what it is and sees it, they are more shocked than I've like you could show them a video of the cartel like killing some guy and it would not affect them like The Strange Thing About the Johnsons. I mean, it's horrific.
Interesting. Which in 25 minutes, that I'm very intrigued now.
Oh well, you're gonna have to watch it, or I could sit down and watch it with you
Okay.
because nothing in my life gives me more joy than when someone hasn't seen it
Okay.
and then they watch it
That's
and
something
then they
that
see it.
we got to record. That just my
Yeah,
initial
we
reaction.
could maybe make a little video of it.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on after that, Kristen Stewart, phenomenal.
Oh, the one thing, sorry.
No, you're good.
One more thing. Oh no, we're gonna get into Eggers, but I was just gonna hit on the fact that I'm pretty sure that like I'm gonna be like having some dreams about this Nosferatu movie that he's wanting to make because like that can't come soon enough.
I actually think it's more than he wants to make. I think he's doing it.
Is he doing it?
Yes.
Well, good.
Okay. So
We better.
moving on because we will talk a lot about Eggers here in just a second. As we're over an hour in. Um. Uh. Disney closes Blue Sky Studios, the creators of the likes of Ice Age, and it makes me very sad, because they released a final short of Scrat. For those that have watched, Scrat's the little squirrel thing that chases its acorn or nut, and in it, their final animation, we get to see Scrat finally eat his beloved acorn that he chased around for the better part of 20 years, and it, not gonna lie,
Well,
made me very sad.
did you say?
Say what?
Well, the listeners they can call me Scrap because I'm no. You know what? We're not even gonna say that. not gonna put that on the podcast. We can cut that out. But
I mean, it's gonna
he
be in
finally
there,
ate
but
the nut, huh?
we're just gonna act like we
Oh, well.
didn't hear it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even finish my thought, so we're good. But he finally got that nut, huh?
He did. I knew that this was that's where it was gonna go. But yeah, I just wanted it in there just because I'm very happy to see a beloved character of my childhood get his funeral, I guess is the way to put it.
You know, I think they went too far with the Ice Age films.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I don't really know how many they made or what they put in them, but like if you said they made like 2 or 3 even set in like the present day, like set in the 21st century, I'd probably believe you, man. Pretty
No,
sure they had like a pirate one, and
they got
probably had one with
Aliens,
plane.
I think.
Aliens now.
I think, yeah, that was like a decade ago.
Okay, well, I'm way behind on the Ice Age movies. Wow, they've got a lot of them, man.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of them. They've got the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. They've got Ice Age Collision Course, Ice Age Continental Drift, Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs, Ice Age 2, and Ice Age.
Yeah.
And the first couple Ice Age films, they were a big part of my childhood. I watched them a lot. So
I loved the first few Ice Ages. I would say Ice Age 1 through 3. Like,
what's the third one?
The Dawn of the Dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, those 3.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Post 3, I didn't really follow either. And that's probably why Blue Sky got shut down.
What else have they come out with lately?
That's a great question. We got one more piece of news. But I'm curious about this myself. Blue Sky Studios. I know they did one with Will Smith not that long ago. Well, a few years ago. But they did. Oh yeah, they did Rio.
Rio's great.
Rio is a great. Oh, Horton Hears a Who. Robots.
Oh. What, they shut down Blue Sky? Horton Hears Robots.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen Robots or not.
No, dude. You don't understand how many times I've seen Robots. Yeah, love that movie. Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss's Horton Hears a Who. They did.
It's a beloved film.
They did Epic.
I could have done without Epic.
I didn't mind it. It was okay. But yeah, they've done a lot of really good stuff.
I mean, if you remember, Robots, the 2 leads were Ewan McGregor and Robin Williams.
Yeah. Who else was in that movie? I'm actually looking real quick.
Mel Brooks, actually.
Yeah.
Are you a Mel Brooks guy?
It depends. He's got some good stuff.
Robin Hood Men in Tights, Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite comedy movies.
Last thought on Robots. I didn't know Amanda Bynes was Piper.
I didn't know that either.
But she is.
The more you know. Huh?
Yeah. And our last piece of film news before we move into The Witch, which I'm very excited for, because not going to lie, that movie, every time I watch it, it haunts me a little bit. But it's looking like, if it's not already been confirmed, because this all came out today, Jason Momoa is going to star in a live-action Minecraft film. It's led creatively by Jared Hess. That makes it any better.
Live-action Minecraft.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jared Hess did Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre.
I don't really care for Nacho Libre.
I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, but like the point is, I think it's meant to be a comedy, so I think it's meant to be sarcastic. And Jason.
It's also a Nickelodeon film.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm talking about the Minecraft movie.
Oh yeah.
So
I don't have much to say about the Minecraft movie. I would have to see, like, I have no idea where they would go with that.
I'm
mildly. Is it
mildly
gonna be square.
I was about to say that's what I'm mildly terrified that it's going to be. I don't know. Like, if it was animated, I would be like, I guess I can see where this is going. But The fact that it's live action and Jason Momoa is somehow in it.
I'm surprised that they haven't already come out with like a Minecraft like animated show or film.
I think they have actually. I think it, but it's like super niche. Hold on.
Really?
I want to look that up. Let's see if they did.
Oh yeah,
Uh
it's on Netflix, man.
oh, is it?
Yeah, Minecraft story mode.
Yeah. So yeah, they've already done that, been there, done that. And now it's time for the live action take. Did you not know that, Cole?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I saw it earlier and was kind of awestruck that they were able to get Jared Hess and Jason Momoa.
Well, they've just got they've got enough money to get they could have got Matthew McConaughey and
Christopher Nolan.
uh Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is a great way to end this segment. So moving on to The Witch.
Let's get to the witch, man.
All right, my friend, The Witch. It's so hard to describe a Robert Eggers film as is. And last week I had you take a shot at Lighthouse, and now this week I want you to take a shot at The Witch.
Okay, so we have a Puritan family. It's the 1630s. This is early America. Um, and they're in like a religious colony. The first scene. And they're banished, right? The first scene is their banishment. So they leave and they decide to start a homestead far, a day's ride from the nearest town, maybe a day and a half. They're far out there. They're in the wilderness, complete isolation. They're surrounded by a dark, evil forest. And within the first 5 minutes, they have a baby, right? They have two. Well, they have an older son, an older daughter, with the mom and dad, a set of twins, a boy and a girl, and a baby, right? Within the first 5 minutes, the eldest daughter, Thomason, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, is playing peekaboo with the baby, and then the baby disappears. She's in the middle of a field. The forest is a good 100 yards away. The baby's gone. She looks around. Baby's nowhere to be seen. Cut to a witch in her hovel, in her little shack out there, and she's churning the baby like butter, rubbing the child's entrails and churned body all over herself, rubbing it all over a spear or some sort of long implement, and then she rides off on her broom into the moonlight, and that's the first 5 minutes. Horrific, horrific. I mean,
I say.
that's gore. That is the worst thing you could think of. A baby getting churned up like that. You know, it's shocking. And
It's
then,
shocking is oh my gosh, the first 5 minutes, especially when you're watching it for the first time, you see it and you're like, oh, like it is.
well, yeah, you want to vomit.
Yeah, it is
Um,
so visceral.
and then for the next little bit, they're just out here roughing it, man. Like they have lost their baby. They're homesteading in the wilderness. It is the 17th century. Um, and they're praying to God a lot. Do you want me to go over the whole film, or do you want me to just kind of like?
So here's the thing. Okay, see, this is a great question because I think this is a great way to kind of merge the two. Because yes, I do want us to. I don't want to go over like the whole film painstakingly. I do want us to just go from part to part. But here's the thing.
Okay.
You texted me something before I even watched it again, and got to relive the horror that was. Um, and it really was an interesting point in the rewatch because you said, well, actually, I'll let you say it. Do you remember what you told me?
Oh yeah. Um, they spend a lot of the film, a lot of the film. Most of the dialogue, it seems, is them lamenting over their sins. Right? They're mourning their sins. We are such sinners in the eyes of the Lord. We were born unto sin, with the original sin of Adam, and we are lowly compared to the eyes of God. And as Robert Eggers puts in the film, you realize that yeah, these are some sinners. By their standards, they're a bunch of dirty sinners. Because the father, William, he commits his sin by selling the family prized silver cup. The son sins, Caleb, because he looks upon the breast of his sleeping sister.
Right, he lusts.
He lusts. The children sin because they are in cahoots with the literal devil.
Which
The
before you say what the devil is, let's continue, and because I that is my favorite twist of the whole movie.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Um, and the mother sinned because she said she has lost her heart. She has lost her, not faith, but she has lost her soul.
Right.
As she says. So all of these characters, they're they're struggling between submitting to the God that they pray to, but they are also, on the other hand, they're sinners in nature, and their forthcomings um, are shown explicitly at the beginning of the film, and then they have to pay the price for those throughout the runtime.
And I would say William the father. Would you say his sin was more pride because they got booted out of the not the camp but their settlement because he was so stuck up in his own ways. You know, he felt he was right. He wouldn't take no for an answer.
I really should pull up the script and actually read how he states it because it's such just delicious dialogue, truly. And
Yeah.
that's in the first 30 seconds how he says it. Okay, so we have blah blah blah. It happens, and what does he say? The governor is, the family's on trial, and the governor says to William, he says, "Must you continue to dishonor the laws of the Commonwealth and the church with your prideful conceit?" And William simply says, "If my conscience sees it fit." And then he says, "Then you shall be banished off of this plantation's liberties." And he says, "I would be glad on it." And this is the first dialogue of the film. So he is so prideful, and so he upholds the things that his conscience sees to be correct, how he's living his life. So he doesn't want anything to do with this colony.
And so yeah, so we have the one thing that I can't wrap my head around, and what Thomason, what did she do? What was her sin?
I think she might have been sinless.
That's the most heartbreaking thing because I do want to kind of get around this, and the thing that I was saying secretive earlier that I was like, dude, the biggest twist, as Cole had said, the twins were in league with the devil legitimately, right?
Right.
The whole film they're playing with this black goat literally named, was it Black Phillip?
Black Phillip.
I keep wanting to call him Black Tom. I don't know why. But
It is Black Phillip.
yeah, but Black Phillip is this goat that you see the entire time, and I think one interesting. Here's the thing: it happens so quickly at the beginning, but I think that it was so much more symbolic than what you think. Because remember at the beginning when we first see the twins chasing Black Phillip the goat and singing their songs, which is weird off the bat, but you think they're just children being children, right?
Right.
What happens when the dad gets there? What does he do?
What does he do?
He wrestles with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The goat's out. The goat. They're singing a song. Black Phillip. He immediately grabs it by the horns and he takes it right back into its cage and slams the door shut.
Right. And so I feel like that is super symbolic with the man that William is in like this godly man, or well, very egotistical and blinded by faith man, but godly nonetheless, and the devil himself. Because spoiler alert, Black Phillip is the devil himself.
And Black Phillip ends up winning the power struggle here.
Oh yeah.
By taking the life of William with his horns.
At the very end, yeah.
At the very end, runs him right through. I hate to give it away to those who haven't seen it, but
If you've watched,
yes.
if you're coming to
So
this podcast and you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but we're gonna spoil these movies.
yeah, you better just go watch it. Pause the podcast. It's only an hour 90, not an hour 90, hour 30 rather.
It's really, yeah, it's not very long,
90 minutes, not very long. It's a slow burn for sure, but it's not a slow burn. It's a fast slow burn,
right?
if that makes any sense at all.
You know, you've done a good job at creating your film and the atmosphere when 90 minutes feels like an eternity.
Right. Oh, it drags and drags, doesn't it?
Like 90 minutes is not a
Because
long
it's
time.
about grief.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like the family has another child die every, 15 minutes in the film. So
Right.
it's like that feeling in Hereditary when the daughter dies, but they got to do it 5 times with this one.
Yeah. See, well, see, when you think of each death too, because I just talked about symbolic, and here's the thing: there's not as much of us to do with this movie as we were able to do with Lighthouse, right? There's no really theories. Like this movie is pretty much like I was watching it with my brother, and I was discussing it with him, and I said that which was more scary because there was a legitimate villain. You know what I'm saying? Oh, well,
Right, right.
sorry. I think I said that wrong. Wait, no, I said that completely correct. Yeah. Which was more scary because there was a legit villain. There was something you could go point at and say was evil, right? Whereas with Lighthouse, it could be whatever you wanted it to be. Yeah, sorry, I said that completely correct.
Right. The Witch is far more straightforward than the
Exactly,
Lighthouse.
and it's more sinister.
It is because the Witch is about an outside force directly manipulating an unknowing family,
Exactly. So another thing
and the
that
Lighthouse is just not that.
no, and Lighthouse is more about isolationism, and I think the thing about Lighthouse that made it less scary, but I think Lighthouse is a far better movie. But what made Lighthouse, like for me personally, less scary was that you could say, like, if you wanted to, if it was uneasy for you watching Lighthouse, number one, you shouldn't watch Witch. But if Lighthouse was uneasy for you, you can easily say that this man is just crazy and none of it's real, and that be the ending, and that be a suitable ending for you. Like it'd be fine.
But there's none of that here. This is to be taken at face value.
Exactly, and it is so scary for that reason. But the other thing I was getting to is like we talked about symbolism with William wrestling with Black Phillip. Each person's death can be strictly attributed to the sin that they had or cured, right?
Yes.
So like we talked about William, he was prideful and he wasn't able to overcome the devil himself, right?
Right.
Caleb, the oldest son, we talked about how his sin was lust, right?
And he succumbed to lust.
He did. Describe what
Right.
happened to
He
Caleb.
did. He is out in the woods, and he's not supposed to be out there. He's out without his parents' knowledge.
He got lost.
He got lost, right? And this is the wild wilderness. This is uncharted, northeastern, just basically American jungle, right? He's out there where there should be nobody. He comes across a shack, and a beautiful woman walks out, the most gorgeous woman, and she offers him into her embrace, and he accepts. I'm not going to say reluctantly, but he is terrified, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's something obviously in him, that being his lust, that draws him to you know to come towards her, and he does, and you realize that as she takes her hand and puts it on the back of his head, it sort of grows into a witch hand, and that's the end of the scene. Right after that, he comes home, and he is bewitched, as they say. He's been witched in the forest by this woman, and he's basically possessed.
Right. He's
And
bare
that's what
naked
ends
when
up
he comes back
killing
too.
him. Right. Oh, exactly. Exactly. So we have the undertones of fornication and sex, especially at the barely post-pubescent age that Caleb is. And that symbol, the thing that pops out of his mouth, at the height of his possession and his illness, the rotten poison apple. which is a deep red color. And think about how many sexual uh, symbols that people have put into various literary works and films that have taken the form of the apple, the
Mm-hmm.
poison apple. Because that, think about the original sin, the sin of desire. That too in the Bible was an apple,
Described as a fruit. Yep.
described as a fruit. Yeah, so great symbol. Horrifying when he actually succumbs to his death by illness and possession. So what's the mother's sin?
So I think you said it. I do think it. I actually, because you said earlier you didn't think it was super cool. Like you didn't think it was exactly faithful. Like the lack of faith. I actually do think it's kind of closer to that. Because she does say that it's harder for her to believe anymore. But what
Right.
agitated me about her was she was so quick to blame the devil for her problems, but she was so like struggling to believe in God Himself. Um,
Right, yeah.
so that kind of was this weird, like a very interesting contradiction in her own character, which made it herself not only frustrating to watch, but also like gripping. Um,
And
but
I wanted to give her a hug the entire time, like, just tell her, like, it's okay.
yeah,
2 of your children just died.
yeah. Like I
Like,
don't think it was cool
you're
the way she blamed Thomason at first, but exactly that reason. Like she's grieving.
yeah, like, you have, like, you're okay. This is not the devil. Well, turns out it was the devil, so
It
she
turned
was
into,
right.
yeah, but like in
Yeah,
reality, it wouldn't have been.
right. Of course.
And so, well,
Um,
you want to know the most interesting part
and
about her, though?
what's that?
Did you catch that she was first offered the book?
No,
So,
when was that?
remember when she wakes up and she sees Caleb and Samuel. Samuel was the infant child that we had described its death earlier. It's awful, but Caleb and Samuel were sitting in her room, and as she's in this dreamlike
She's
trance.
hallucinating. Yeah, he's holding Samuel in
Yes.
his hands.
So she
Yes.
leans down and she goes to pick up Samuel and she's talking to them and she's like, "I'm gonna wake your father. He's gonna be so happy." And Caleb's like, "No." He says, and this can't be verbatim because I can't remember exactly, but he says to the effect, "I brought this book. I want you to look at."
Oh, ho,
And
ho,
her
really?
response is, "No, I want to hold the baby first. He's hungry." So so what's interesting about this is that she wasn't like, while we did describe that weird contradiction a second ago, she wasn't just lacking of faith towards God. She was lacking of faith towards anything. Because
Right.
literally is seeing the apparition of her children. The devil himself offers the name, her name in his book, and she declines. Whether it be super subtle or not, she does.
He says, "We would see you oft, mother. Would that please you?" And she says, "Aye." And he says, "I've brought a book for you, mother. Will you look at it with me?" And she says, "Aye." And then she says, "One moment yet, Samuel is hungry. Come, come, my little Sam."
Yes.
And then she begins to feed.
And it turns into a crow that's pecking at her breast and eats. Yeah, it's very nasty.
Which to me tops it tops the baby scene at the beginning as the most gruesome visual for sure.
Both of those just made me oogle very badly. Um,
Yeah. Oh, they're gross. They're disgusting. And the way the bird pecks at her nipple
Yeah,
is just
it's so I don't know what it is with Robert Eggers and birds eating people, but um he has
it's just
mastered
it's ripping pieces
that
of
effect.
her flesh off.
He's mastered that, and I didn't think it was something that anyone needed to master, but he has mastered it, and it is disgusting.
It's disgusting. Oh yeah. And then the next scene, it's a cut to black after that. And, she's laying next to William in the bed, and her breast is covered in blood,
Yeah,
seeping through her white shirt.
yeah. And to finish off the mother's arc, she just gets a poor run of it the whole way. Um, so she walks out after the father had been killed by Black Phillip, and she gets mad and starts to attack Thomason, who she believes is a witch. And Thomason, defending herself, stabs her mother to death as she is fighting on top of her, and the mom dies. And
And she, would you like me to read the entire back and forth between them during
yes,
the fight?
yes, please.
She, the mother comes and attacking Thomason, and Thomason says, "I'm your daughter." And Catherine says, "The devil is in thee and hath had thee. You are smeared of his sin. You reek of evil. You have made a covenant with death." And Thomason says, "Mother." Catherine, the mother, says, "You bewitched thy brother, proud slut." Thomason says, "Stop it, mother." She says, "Do you not think I saw thy sluttish looks to him, bewitching his eye as any whore?" Thomason says, "What say you to me?" And Catherine says, "And thy father next." "Mother." And Catherine says, "You took them from me. They're gone." She says, "No, you killed my children." Catherine says, and then they have this fight, and Thomason makes a big gash on the mother's face, and as soon as she sees that blood, she realizes that she's gone too far and that it must be ended. So she kills her mother right there.
Yeah.
And
And
then at that point, Thomason is the last living member of the family.
and you see what well, we didn't go over the twins. We just said that they were
Which I have some confusion
we'll get to
with the
we'll
twins.
get to that in just a sec,
Yeah,
because I want to kind of dissect some of the things that that the mom said to Thomason. The mom's name was Kate, I believe.
Catherine.
Catherine. Sorry, you said that. Um, I don't think Thomason was doing what Caleb was lusting over on purpose.
No, not
Right?
at all.
See, obviously not when she was asleep. But the only other time we see Caleb, because we see it twice with the sister, which is gross in itself. Um, but the only other time we see Caleb making eyes at his sister's bungalows on her chest is at the creek when they're washing the clothes.
Oh yes,
And so like we see it and it's kind of awkward, but then after that Thomason was like, "Caleb, what's the matter?" And he's like, "Nothing." And she hugs him and is trying to tell, as the older sister would do, is like, "Hey, it's okay," like, or older sibling I should say, like, everything's okay, like, it's whatever. And I think this is a good segue to the twins with this scene that I'm discussing. But like everything that the mom said, like, we already discussed her sin and why she was punished in the story. But man, it's just like I can't believe, and I know you're not supposed to, but it's just weird to think that that was what the mom would say. You know what I mean?
yeah, like yeah, and you didn't have any indication that there was any sexual dynamic between William the father and Thomason at all until Catherine says this. So there might be some sort of subtext that we missed, but I don't really know what that proves. I don't know the purpose of that line either, if not to just further uh, Catherine's Catherine's character as someone that's fear of sin and fear of God has blinded her, like you say, and has caused these grand delusions.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. Like I don't think that there was anything. I think we missed whatever it was because that it wasn't there. I feel like the only relationship William and Thomason had was just a normal father-daughter relationship.
Seems like it.
Like the only times we see them together, before the end, obviously when William believes Thomason is a witch, we see him like holding her and like when Thomason goes with Caleb, but before he goes missing, or well during when he goes missing, I should say. And when Thomason finds her father, William is doing nothing but just relief that he has found his daughter, and it wasn't like in a gross way. It was like what you'd imagine a father would react like.
Of course, the
I
father the
okay.
father was almost like he was the face of reason
Yeah,
throughout the film.
yeah. Like I like the father a lot, and it wasn't
Yeah,
until sorry, go ahead.
he just seems like he was making the right decisions. He wasn't making the wrong decisions at all.
Yeah, and it
Like,
felt like things didn't go wrong until he started giving into the paranoia.
right, as soon as he starts to give into it, that's when things really amp up.
Yeah.
As soon as Caleb dies, that's when you realize, okay, like this is like something is wrong here. They are in for it. Like as soon as he died, the first time I watched it, I realized, hey, like the rest of these people are probably not going to survive this.
Right. And even when William is giving in, he doesn't just blame Thomason, because Thomason's instantly like, "Yo, the twins have been talking to the goat for a long time," and instantly he's like, "You're right." Like he's not like, "Oh,
Yeah,
and
he
it's not like,
believes her.
yeah, it's not just like in a way that's like, "Oh, you're right," and it's like I'm going to like make them the blame now. He's like, "I want to make sure of this and this," and so he goes in and he confronts the twins, and then he puts them both in there, and I hate to say it,
He
but it. Sorry, go ahead.
locks him up.
Yeah, and
He nails the board shut.
that's probably the most reasonable thing to do in that situation if you're in that time period and you don't know what to do.
Sure, that's what I'd do.
He didn't just
I
scapegoat
would
one.
imprison those kids.
Yeah. With
Yeah,
with
like I'd be
Black
like,
Phillip,
hey, like in yeah.
the goat.
Also,
And
like, yeah, he's like, oh, I'm reprimanding my children for communing with the devil. I'm going to nail them shut into a room with the devil,
yeah, which is oh,
along with Thomason.
yeah.
He wanted them all gone. He was like, yeah, like I've just got to get rid of these people.
Yeah, we'll leave in the
Like,
morning.
yeah, yeah, that's what he says. He's like, yeah, we're gonna go to town in the morning. Like, we're out of here.
Yeah. But now I think this, and I want to go back to the scene with Thomas and Caleb in the twin, or well, one of the twins, Mercy, at the basin or the river or wherever, the creek, whatever they're at. Describe
Because
your.
that's a very important scene.
Yes, I want you to first describe that scene, or well, in any order you want. Describe that scene
Well, yeah,
and
I
your
can
confusion
describe that scene. Yeah, they go down there and Caleb. I don't exactly know how it goes, but Caleb asks something to the effect of like, "Hey, was it a wolf that carried off Samuel, or was it the witch?" And uh, Thomason says like, "Did she tell Caleb that she's a witch?"
So no, so Caleb is just trying to. He does ask, but he's more so just trying to verify in his own head to make himself feel better. I think because he's like, it was a wolf. It was a wolf. And then
Yeah,
Mercy, one of the young twins, shows up, like
she
playing
says, "I
around.
am the witch of the wood."
Yes, and Thomason, who's in charge of watching over these young children as devious and as I hate the twins. She's in charge of watching them, and so to try to get Mercy to go back, she scares her into thinking that she is the witch. So Thomason says, "I'm the witch, and I did all this," and convinces Mercy that she is, to scare her into not only keeping quiet but and behaving, but also to go back to the house.
Yeah,
Um, and Caleb the whole time is like, "Mercy, don't listen to Thomason. Mercy, she's making it up," and of course Mercy believes it, and that comes back to bite Thomason right in the butt.
yeah, because as soon as Mercy gets a chance to squeal, she says, "Yeah, listen, Thomason is the actual witch."
While Caleb is dying, might I add.
Yeah, while he's lying on the floor coughing up fruit.
Yeah, and then the twins proceed to act as if they're also possessed, and the family just continues to believe that Thomason is in fact a witch.
I want to know though. I want to get to the bottom of it. When were they? When did they turn to the dark side?
I don't think that we ever got to see them pre. Like I think that they were that way when
They
we got to
were.
them. Yeah,
Yeah, as soon as they were, because the first time you see them, they're singing a song about Black Phillip
raising Black Phillip and chasing him around.
dancing.
Yeah. Oh, and
Yeah, so
sorry. Go ahead.
you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we've been calling Black Phillip the devil, but we haven't just said why. We've just kind of languished and accepted the fact that the audience would accept it at some point. But we should probably go over how we know he's the devil for those that don't know, that haven't watched.
Yeah, well, right. To make a long story short, after the entire family's dead and Thomason is killed, uh, her mother, she goes to bed and then she wakes up in the middle of the night, goes out to the goat pen or like the goat house or whatever it is, and Black Phillip's in there, and she says, "Hey, Black Phillip, like speak to me like you spoke to the twins. Speak to me." And she begs Black Phillip, and then Black Phillip says, "Well, what is it that you want? What is it that you ask for?" And he says, "No, yeah, yeah." He says, "What do you want?" And she says, "Well, what canst thou give?" And he says, "Would you like the taste of butter, a pretty dress? Would you like to live deliciously?" And she says, "Yes." And he says, "Would you like to see the world?" "Yes." And then after that, he offers the book, which is told through dialogue preceding this to be, if you want to if you want to get down with the devil, you got to sign your name in that book.
Yeah, and she then proceeds to say, "I can't sign it," and the devil says, "Well, I will guide your hand."
I
And
will
the end
die.
of the movie is Thomason naked going into the forest to a like she runs into the forest with Black Phillip chasing her or like running with her, and she
Yeah,
goes to this like it's like what would you call it, like a worship or like a
I'm gonna
saint.
call it like it's a bonfire. You
Yeah,
know,
a bonfire with all these other what are now witches around it, and
naked women.
yeah,
Yeah,
naked women witches, and they start floating, and the movie ends in a very, I mean, I guess Lighthouse ends in a witch manner where they all laugh, and that's one of the final scenes, and
right. They have the same ending, don't they?
yeah, and Thomason, it does turn into a witch. She wasn't a witch, but then she ends up being a witch.
She ends up as a witch. Yes. The script describes it. The rising, and then it says, then Thomason and Blackfield rise too, slowly going higher and higher. Thomason keeps laughing, ever increasing in pleasure and freedom. Tears roll down her cheeks as she laughs. In underlines pure ecstasy. They rise higher, black, the end.
You know what?
So
You know what's really interesting about that though? Like more
what's
contradiction
that?
because this whole story is contradiction. Think
Oh, yeah,
about
all in all.
think about what they're worshiping. Think about who this is. This is straight up evil, the devil himself, hell, right? What do you think of when you think of hell? Which direction?
Doubt.
But that symbolism of
Sure.
them rising.
Well, it seems as if their faith in the film is, spoken in dialogue to elevate them, but truly it's only given them great sorrow and led them to live a shackled life.
Right.
And then you see at the end only when they accept Satan and disregard God, then they end up rising up and up.
Which is a really weird but like very interesting route to take, right? In like
Yeah, it's a great foil, truly.
yeah, like it's the antithesis to life because like I'm not like I am a Christian, like I believe the exact opposite of this, but it's like it's just interesting to see, and I think the other thing that I liked a lot about it, do you remember what the post, I don't want to call it post credits, but what it says right after the movie cuts to black and it ends?
Oh, it says that all of the dialogue and stuff was taken from actual sources from the time period.
Yeah. So it's like the way it spun is really interesting because obviously they tell the story of like what we said, this contradiction in religion and Christianity and Puritans and you rise
So
with
the civilized world versus the wild and untamed forest.
yeah, and the underlying pure ecstasy of giving in to the evil and the sorrow that is living what is supposed to be the salvation. Um, but it's just
Right, and if you see another good contradiction there is that as soon as the baby dies and the mother is in mourning, the father suggests fasting for a day in prayer, not eating for a day in prayer.
yeah,
Whereas at the end, Black Phillip proposes the taste of butter and to live deliciously
yeah,
in excess to Thomason.
and they can't catch anything, they can't grow corn, like
No, they're living in starvation,
yeah,
and their faith is only leading to this feeling of living life without any sort of pleasure. All physical pleasure is they're without any pleasure at all.
right. And I want to get this across. to those listening. This is not an anti-God, anti-Jesus, anti-Christianity religion movie.
Of course not.
Like it's not. I
No,
could see it
no,
being
no, no.
spun that way though, and I want to clarify that that is not what this is.
Not in any way. This is a character study.
Exactly. Like I
This is how these people feel,
yeah,
not how Eggers or we feel.
yeah. Like there's a difference between trying to make a statement and, as you called it, a character study in the development of a person and how they feel. You know.
Right.
So yeah,
Absolutely. It's not saying anything about faith. It's saying something about extreme paranoid faith.
exactly. And how twisted. Because like this is the thing that I think everyone can agree on. Even religion in going for the good can be, as you said, twisted. Too much of anything is bad, or can be.
Right.
And paranoia, and as you said, can lead to a lot. And in this instance, it was really fun to watch, interesting, gruesome, terrifying, and unsettling in every way possible. But it was fun. Like just looking back, like the cinematography is beautiful. I will say this, and I think I'll say this till the end of either my life or Robert Eggers' career, whichever one comes first. Robert Eggers is the present day Stanley Kubrick.
Sure. Absolutely.
I
You could make that.
I
Yeah.
love Robert Eggers. Like this man,
I do too.
like the way he tells a story, like there is not one scene that has gone to waste. There's not one line of dialogue that is misplaced.
No, every piece of dialogue directly uh uh, uh creates these characters even more, and it's always called back on.
Right.
Every piece of dialogue and every aspect of the characters that's presented by Eggers is then spun and tied into how they die in the film.
We can genuinely we pull up the scripts, and I love that we do that. But we can pull up the script for any Robert Eggers movie. There's only 3 of them, so take your pick.
I thought there were 2.
Well, the Northman is the 3rd.
Oh, sure.
You can take your pick, whichever one, and we could literally do just a full episode of us reading through the script and picking apart things and like doing just a case study of this man's just beauty.
And the true beauty in both the Lighthouse and the Witch are the impressive use of dialogue. That's the strength of the Eggers films. Both of them is that he's using the seafarer wiki dialogue in the Lighthouse. He's using the early 1600s Puritan stuff with the Witch, but it's using all of the way that they would talk back then, the most antiquated forms of speech that we have in American English, but it's still presented in a way that modern viewers can understand in a fast way.
Right. And just the way he's able to get the absolute best and most out of the actors that he portray. And it's not like this man doesn't need like no shade to Christopher Nolan because I love Nolan, but we look at Oppenheimer. This man's he's got all of Hollywood in that movie.
Everybody.
Right.
There's 30 or 40 stars in that movie.
Eggers has had, just off the top of my head, how many people were in the family? You had, so we had the Witch, that's one. Then you had the mother, father, the twins, Thomason, and Caleb. That's 7, right?
Yeah.
So combined, you had 9 to 10 actors in both of these movies. And both of them are masterpieces.
And it goes to show that isolationist horror can be done so well with such little diversity of characters when you just do the dialogue right. And he's already shown himself to be a masterclass in the study of how isolation causes people to go bonkers.
And just in my mind, he has reinvented the horror genre. Because in neither,
it's
go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, well, fine then. I'll go ahead.
No, Yeah.
In neither in Lighthouse or Witch was there. There might be one jump scare you can count in the Witch, and that's when Wake runs in with the axe at the end and is yelling. But like other than that, there are no really jump scares. There's no like purposeful spooks. He relies on the atmosphere. He relies on dialogue, as we've discussed. He builds this world and he slaps you in it, and he says, "Here are the sounds. Here are the sights. If it unsettles you, too bad."
Right. Right. Oh, and it's haunting, truly. The Witch is it's one of the scarier horror films out there,
Yeah, and as I
truly. And
said,
like you said, it's not gore, it's
no,
not somebody chasing after you with a chainsaw. It's pure atmosphere.
yeah, and as I said times two in the last segment, it stuck with me. Like even like this is the second time I've seen it. I watched it on Saturday night. It is currently Monday night. In the last day or so, it stuck in my head. Just from the baby to just the devil himself. Which, by the way, the thing I meant to say when we were talking about the scene where when finally Thomason gets to speak to the devil, the devil speaks in this whispery, like terrifying voice in itself. But when
And he
he
turns into a terrifying man.
That's what I was about to say. When he turns into the man, see, that's not the scariest part. That's like, okay, I can see that. When he just appears in the right side of the screen, like, he doesn't, like, his
You're
face,
like, oh,
his face is pale white, and as you're looking at it, he appears in the left, like, far left vertical third. And he just is there. Like, he just, like, slowly, methodically, like inches in, and he's speaking. And it's so scary because you might not notice him, like lean in. So all of a sudden he's there. And it is terrifying.
just a mustachioed man
Yeah, and
that
that's
you have not seen.
no, and that's the thing. It doesn't need to be scary. Like it doesn't need to be like all of a sudden. It doesn't need to go like make a loud noise and him pop up. He just silently, elegantly, like leans forward, and you just happen to notice him. No loud noises, nothing, and it is so scary.
And as soon as you see his face, you say that's the devil. Like that's who that is. That is
It's
Satan out there, man.
terrifying.
That's Lucifer. Yeah. Um and it's not necessarily a casting thing. I mean, they could have had anybody as Lucifer there. It's
Oh
like
yeah,
you said, it's how subtle it is. So subtle.
yeah.
And he almost comes in like like what's the it's like a whisper almost. It's not a shout. And it's almost comforting because you see Thomason live this life of extreme discomfort and everyone's screaming and praying and all this stuff, and then the devil speaks of these pleasures that he can offer her, and then he saunters onto the screen. He
Right.
doesn't he's not doing a tango, he's waltzing onto the screen.
Like so like
And
he's almost like, you know what? I just realized this just hit my head. You know what's hilarious? Because what I was just about to say, it's like he slithers.
right, oh sure, he does slither.
That is, I was literally just about to say he like slithers, and then it hit me, serpent, and just Robert, man, he's a genius.
He is. And you can almost like another thing sort of like that is actually the first time you see him is not when he is on the left side of Thomason. It's you see his feet, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. You see the
Yeah,
goat walk, and then you see him like you see his foot, his boot take a step.
yeah.
That one didn't, because we're
He
looking
has
down
these
at the
like
book.
almost
Yeah,
elfish, pointy,
like Trickster.
horn-like shoes. Yeah, like what you'd see. I don't know, the Pied Piper.
Yeah. See, like that wasn't that didn't scare me. That one didn't stick out because like it is spooky, but like when you see it, you're almost like okay. But like I did not expect to see his face. That was like the last thing I expected. I totally expected it just to stay on Anya Joy Taylor's face, and it just like you just hear him walking around. And so for me, especially personally, when he just appeared and he like leaned in, it jarred me because I was not ready for that.
Okay, so the part that has me confused though, are the twins dead?
Yes, I think they are.
They've been killed by Black Phillip.
I think so. Well, not even Black Phillip, the witch. Remember, because she appears. That's
The
another thing.
witch.
Yeah. Because the other thing too is that like in the movie you see like Thomason's trying to milk the goat and it like squirts out blood. And then a little bit later after that, when they're stuck, when their dad is locked, the twins and Thomason in the shed, they hear a thud, and when they look down, they see the witch eating at the nipple of the goat. And
So are Black Phillip and the witch, are they, do they know each other or?
see, that I think they do, I think they do. So I think the witch is like essentially a demon. Um,
Okay.
so I think that they are in league. Um, an issue that I have. So like I think that I say they're in league. I think they're more in league because like think about it. Like for um Thomason to become a witch, she had to sign the devil's book.
Yes.
So I think all of them did. So I think that they were it was a conspired effort. They all like the devil and these witches worked together to do this. Um and
Right.
so I think
Right.
that the devil got the witch in there. At first, I thought that the witch was the goat because throughout the movie you see the witch as a rabbit.
Yes.
And so I thought that she was Black Phillip, but then Black Phillip, or the goat turns into the devil, and so you're just like okay, but I actually asked my brother because like they just I thought that just disappeared, but he said he thought he saw like the scene when the dad walks out and he's looking and he sees Thomason just laying there and you see the goat dead in front of her.
Yeah.
My
You also, yeah, I thought about that shot for a while too. I'd like to see if I can pull that up.
my brother said he thought he saw feet behind her and that you don't really see their dead bodies, but it's implied. I don't know what to look up, what to Google to look up that shot. Um,
Yeah, I don't have anything.
cause like it's such an it's like the shot is so ambiguous, you know.
Yeah, you see two dead goats for sure. Is that right?
Yeah. You
Like,
definitely do see the
you
goat. Well, no, you. There's only
yeah,
one
well,
goat
there's only two goats. Yeah, there's the female goat,
in
and
Black
what's its
Phillip.
name? Petunia?
Yeah, something like that. See, like
And
I'm
Black Phillip.
looking, and I can't find that. There's no just one still image of that shot. There's a lot of still images of Caleb's death.
Ooh, ooh, when he dies, his monologue.
Oh my gosh.
Well, the only time that you see pure ecstasy or real happiness in the film is when Thomason becomes a witch, and then when Caleb actually dies. He's given one moment, one split second of true joy
Yeah.
in order to be united with his savior.
Who I was about to say the family thinks he's praying to Jesus, but I'm pretty sure he was to the witch.
That's a better idea. I thought he was praying to Jesus too, but once you said that, I've realized like, hey, he's probably talking about the devil.
Well, see, I can't. I need to pull up the dialogue, but there was something that he said in there and during that monologue that was like because he said like the way I'm pretty sure he not only said she, but he said something about like the looks, and I was like, okay, I think he's talking about the witch. I could be wrong. I could have just misheard it because it is old time English, and I'm not that smart, so who knows? But
Well, I'll find it. Hold up.
well, I'm looking over, and we're
Um,
well over 2 hours, my friend.
oh wow, yeah, we've got to wrap things up, man.
Yeah. So I think it's time if we can find that in the last minute or so, we should read it. But other than that, I think it's time to give our ratings. I'll let you go first. We'll do this out of 10 flying brooms. What do you give this?
I'm gonna give it 8 flying brooms out of 10.
You know what's hilarious? I'm going to give it the exact amount. That is the amount that I had said in my head before I even asked you. So a consensus choice here, the very first. Kind of weird that we both said it in week 2. Thought we'd
It's
go,
an 8.
yeah, 8 flying broomsticks out of 10. Robert Eggers' The Witch. The first one was what, 9.5? The Lighthouse.
Yeah,
So yeah,
We'll say The Lighthouse is just a bit better than The Witch.
oh yeah, so
Just a bit.
a combined, I'll say like 9 from the first 2 movies, 9 out of 10.
Yeah. So Eggers is on top of the game.
Right.
On top of the game. Nosferatu hopefully will bring our average up to a 9.5.
Hey, we got
The
we got the
Northman.
Northman first, yeah.
Yeah. I shouldn't put my cart before my horse here. We've still got to watch The Northman, and that will be next week. So
Hopefully
stay
next week.
tuned,
Will it be
and
next week or the week after?
hopefully,
Well, you know what?
not sure.
We'll figure that out when we get there, and you will definitely be hearing about it because that movie, we, not just me, we have been talking about for a long time.
We're super excited, guys.
All right, and that's the end of this episode. If you've made it this far, good job. We've gone
Kudos.
a long time, almost, I think 2.5 hours if I'm looking correctly.
And we could go longer.
We really could. The only reason we're not is because we understand people have lives. But yeah. So Cole, I want to thank you for being here, my awesome and amazing co-host.
Thank you, sir, for setting all this up.
Nah, man, this I could not have done this by myself. So I really appreciate it. Appreciate you that listen. Get this thing going, get this thing rolling. Like, subscribe, share, talk about it. If you disagree with any of our takes, shoot it at us, and we will happily discuss whatever the audience wants to discuss. We'll make it its own segment if you prefer.
And listen, I'm opening this up to any of our listeners. Listen, if you want to talk about some film, we'll meet in person. We'll go out, have some coffee, and we'll talk about some movies.
Right, and I'm pretty sure with what we upload on, you can send in a voice like memo to say your point, and we can put that in the episode. So
yeah, if anything you say, if you want to be part of this episode, we will put you in. Doesn't matter what you got, we will put you in.
that's what I'm saying. Like, you can disagree with us, and we will happily hear your point, rebuttal. Maybe agree with your disagreement. You never know.
You never know.
All right, and that has been week 2. And at some point, we'll stop numbering these because we'll get so far into this that we'll lose count. But until then, this has been week 2 of Beyond the Screen. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. Good night.